up guys, how are we doing? Welcome back to the channel. You're with me, the Autistic Biker. So just feel free to think about subscribing if you're not already a subscriber, and you know, feel free to like and leave a comment, do you know what I mean, on the video, saying out you want, asking me out, telling me out. So I just thought I'd put action camera on, press play, even though I weren't really going to, didn't really plan to. I just fancied a ride out to the aunt bike, but I just thought, actually, well, my mind is sort of like still fresh from it after watching this other video this morning on YouTube from this other, I suppose you could call him a motor vlogger if you like. But yeah, I thought, you know what, just while you're on your way back home from Matlock, because I've just been to Matlock, I just thought, you know what, be as sharp and as quick, straight to the point as you can, make a video, you got your action camera on, just press play, talk and just see how it goes. So this video might be a bit like editing rusty, because I've not sort of like planned exactly what I want to say. So there might be some ahhing, you know, maybe, you know, hesitation and not knowing what to say from one point to the next. But it's sort of like on the back of, if you like, a video that I watched this morning before I set off to go and get a bike to go out on it. But this motor vlogger, if you like, has made this video. It came on this morning, which is Wednesday, and basically he was saying reasons why, you know, he will never, you know, buy sort of like a big, you know, adventure touring motorcycle again. And he's done a video on it previously, but this is sort of like the second one. Maybe highlighting reasons from his first video, saying why he won't, and maybe one or two maybe new fresh reasons. I don't know on that, I don't know to be 100% sure and certain, but I thought I'd do a video on back of it. So he's basically you know, talking and is giving his reasons as to why, you know, he'll never buy a big like venture touring motorcycle again, you know, like your big 12 and 1300s and stuff like that. And all his reasons make absolutely solid, great, brilliant, logical sense. And they're great, they're brilliant, and I love watching him. He's a pleasure to watch. Always has been. I do like watching him, I do. Anyway, so I thought, so as he's talking, you know, this sort of like idea, if you like, just popped into my head. Now here's me making the disclaimer again. I just like to chuck my disclaimer out at there by saying, you know, if it's already been thought of, if it's already been done, then there you go. But I don't know if it has. Otherwise, if I did know, I wouldn't be making this video, because simply because there'd be no point in me making this video. It's as simple as that. So I'm only making it because, to me, to the best of my knowledge, to me, the manufacturers, motorcycle manufacturers, haven't done. So that brings me on to my point, really. So, whole point and purpose of this video is to basically, you know, to say, well, I think that manufacturers should basically think about doing it if they already haven't. And you know, like to do with your big adventure, like touring motorcycles, you know, your big like 1200s, 13, even 14, even 1500s, some of them, do you know what I mean? A good, strong, legitimate reason as to what really puts people off from them are two main things to me, And I'm not saying this has come from the man who's made the video that is put on this morning. I'm saying this is, even though he did mention, I think, at least one of them, I think, but both of these are still come from me and my head anyway. So two big main contributing factors, what put people off from getting them is number one, it's because of the weight of them, the absolute sheer weight of them, right? So if they're in the middle of nowhere and they're not, and they're on a solo ride and they're stranded, a motorcycle goes over, right? If there's no one about, no mates to help them and all like that, you are fucked, you're screwed. There's no chance of getting that motorcycle back up, right? So because of the actual sort of like dead weight that you're playing with, the second one is just because of the actual sort of like all-round general size of them, as in, what I mean by that, as in the height of them, to when you are then sat with your bum cheeks on that motorcycle seat for when you're riding, but especially for when you come up to a traffic light, for example, or a giveaway roundabout, anything, and you've got to lean it to let a little bit to put your left foot down, right? It's basically the tallness of them. So what I thought, well, hang on a minute, right? You can't. What about if someone, if there's like that man or woman out there, or man and woman, they love their big, adventure touring motorcycles. They're big, powerful, big touring motorcycles, right? I do. And what it is they'd love to buy one and have one, right? Or if they've already got one, they'd love to carry on actually, owning that motorcycle and riding it and going on big tours and stuff like that and enjoying life. But there's that big, massive, like spanner in works bear bug that comes into their head, which is, even if they're not so much bothered about the weight, even if they're very, very confident and comfortable, as in they're not bothered about the dead weight because they're really, really strong enough. Let's say if they are of a small build, as in height, but they're still very, very strong. So the first factor doesn't even bother them, right? They're not bothered about it going over, right? They're very comfortable in that. Plus, that's not the point. If you start messing about with stuff on a big adventure touring motorcycle, right, as in trying to change the sort of like weight of it, the dead weight, by making it lighter, okay, and putting a smaller engine in, right? If you start putting a smaller engine in, a big massive, a nice good proper textbook example, like adventure touring motorcycle, yeah, and then if you start taking a couple of things off to make the motorcycle lighter, what my point is this, right, is then that is totally defeating objects, because then it goes out of the realms, it goes out of the textbook example realms, if you like, of that motorcycle no longer being a big adventure touring motorcycle. So therefore you're defeating objects, so that's not the point. So then I thought, but there's still the high element aspect to it, isn't there? Which is, what about if someone doesn't want, what about if that smaller person, that smaller man or woman, doesn't want to sacrifice any attributes, if you like, by a way of the textbook example as what defines what is a adventure touring motorcycle, okay? What about if they don't want it spoilt, but at the same time, right, so in other words, they still want all that dead weight, they still want all that weight because it don't bother them. They still appreciate and like and respect all that weight. They still appreciate and like and respect the power of the engine. They still want at least a 1300 engine, if not a 1500 cc capacity engine, right? So then it still leaves the height though, the height element to it, which still is bugging them like no tomorrow. Like now, look, to do at red light, me coming to put my foot down, if you've got a very small height-wise of a man or woman, next minute, goes over, topples, bump, done. Right, and they can't get the foot down and all that lot. So there's one good sort of like way around it, isn't there? There's one good explanation and only way around it. And that is for these manufacturers to still make an adventure touring motorcycle by not sacrificing anything, by reducing anything or taking anything off or away off the text, you know, off the adventure touring motorcycle, because then it's a bit defeating object. So what they do is they'd still keep you know, they'd still keep all the attributes and the stating the painfully obvious, well, not painfully, but the stating positively obvious factors to do with an adventure touring motorcycle. They still keep the engine size, they still keep the torque and the bhp, the brake horsepower and everything as to what you would get on a very tall, high typical adventure touring motorcycle. What would typically suit like a 6 foot man, or you know, a 6 foot summit man or a 6 foot summit woman, lady, what have you. But what you do is the manufacturer only has to very simply just make the actual height of the motorcycle just lower to the ground, even quite considerably lower. And there we go. Basically, that's all point and purpose and intention to this video, all wrapped up in a nutshell, and that's it. All signed, concealed, done, and wrapped up in a nutshell. That's it, done. Now, there is such thing as what you call, I think they are literally just called something as like self-explanatory and as simple as motorcycle lowering kits, you know, self-lowering kits. So you're able to get a specific designated, like designed special tools, if you like, for your particular make and model and year and everything of your motorcycle if it's too high for you. And you're able to get lowering kits that basically lower your motorcycle to the ground. So, you know, so basically, you know, it's not too high for you and you're not too small for it. I get that, but I don't think you can be, to save you from doing it yourself and having to go out and buy a kit and either waste your time, labour doing it yourself, or either by paying a garage labour to actually do it for you. I don't think you can be, actually, if a motorcycle manufacturer was willing to be very, very prosperous and optimistic and hopeful by putting optimism and hope out there to that of the much smaller in height, you know, male or female, or male and female. I don't think you can beat that. If they were willing to do that, I think that would be a very, very good idea. So you don't take away by sacrificing or taking away, losing or stripping, reducing any of what would suit a typical like 6 foot summit bloke or summit of an adventure touring motorcycle. It still has the bhp, their brake horsepower, the torque, the power on throttle, the engine size, you name it, or luggage, all the panniers, everything, you name it. But literally, the only thing that a manufacturer has to do is, you know, just make it that of a smaller, as in height wise, of a motorcycle. Simple as that. Yeah, we'll go into right hand lane, we'll go straight on. We'll not go into left to go left, we'll go into right straight on. So basically, that's it. And also as well, just as a second additional thing to mention, in terms of the lower kits, you know, like lowering kits, that's if only that is the correct exact name for them, and they haven't sort of got like a very sort of like specific fancy name, if you like. But I know someone who had their motorcycle lowered because it were too tall for them. You know, when they were sat on it, you know when it came to cocking the leg over and coming up to red lights and stuff, and plonking their horse on seat, and the motorcycle like dealership, which was also a like MOT service and repair centre for motorcycles as well. They were honest with him and they said, right, look, if you want this doing, fair enough, it can be done, but it's not going to come with any sort of like, I forgot what words they use now, what they said, but it's not going to come like with any sort of like hindrance. In other words, if you want this doing, you will be more lower to floor, so you'll feel a lot more confident mentally, but it's not going to come with that like its negatives, you know, like without its drawbacks. You are going to, well, you might, either you definitely are or you definitely might experience this and that. So you've got to be willing to sacrifice and put up with like some hindrance sacrifices. And fair enough, it were pleasant enough, it were alright. He just said, yeah, okay, that's fine, yeah, but I just want it lowered. Fine, so they did it for him. So that's my point. So even with these lowering kits, to do with what specific make, model, engine size and year of the bike you've got, sometimes they can come with flaws, you know, flaws and errors that you've just got to put up with. But this is where a motorcycle manufacturer comes into play, where because they would have actually been made by an actual proper motorcycle, a very good professional, experienced, expertised motorcycle manufacturer. What my point is these motorcycle manufacturers can make it so, as in make it so where these adventure touring motorcycles are much lower to ground for that of the lower in height person, male or female, male and female. But what my point is also as well, you can have your cake and eat it too. You can have best of both worlds, because they are made by a proper professional, you know, motorcycle manufacturer, where they are not going to come with any like drawbacks, negatives, you know, hindrances or out like that. So you can, repeating my sin again, have your cake and eat it too. You can have the best of both worlds, and this is what I'm saying, because they would have been made, designed specifically and especially by motorcycle manufacturers. I mean, I think if this were willing to be done and would be done and put there on production lines, I think it would be giving the, you know, the whole motorcycle game world community, if you like, or whatever word you want to say, and it would be giving all, you know, past, present and future motorcyclists much more like optimistic hope, a lot more hopeful optimism, you know what I mean, a lot more, you know, in other words, it's sort of like the opening the gateway, if you like, and the pathways to, you know, a more prosperous, optimistic, hopeful bikers and motorcycling in general. It'd be, you know, it's like be opening the doors and to much more prosperous, you know, that of the motorcycle game, world industry, the motorcycle industry. And I just think it'd be a very good thing. So yeah, basically, you're going to push your way through and expect me to just do this instead of waiting patiently. You deserve a thank. Some head screws on your shoulders. Yeah, so that's it, guys. So just feel free to yeah, give this a like, even give it a share if you like. Share it out. You've got my pre-permission for that, and just give it a like and just comment saying anything you want to say, ask or tell me in comment section or like that about it. Tell me what your thoughts and feelings are on it, basically. Tell me what you think and reckon. So I'm going to wrap it up there. Yeah, you've been with me, the Autistic Biker. It has been a pleasure. Thanks as always, guys. And remember, if you are riding, ride safe. Watch out for them other idiots out there on road. And until then, I'll catch you at the next one. I'll see you.